All right. Are ready to start, ladies and gentlemen? Okay. Good afternoon, and welcome to this online hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Ottawa. The Committee of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial tribunal appointed by City Council to make decisions on certain types of applications under the Planning Act. My name is John Blatherwick, and I will be chairing this hearing today. With me are my fellow panel members, Heather McLean, Bonnie Oak-Charon, and Stan Wilder. Please take note that this video conference is being live streamed on YouTube. The video will be archived along with today's agenda on the city's website. Before we begin, we have a few items to outline for your information. While the issues surrounding development in the city are broad, our mandate is quite limited. The committee cannot consider aspects of the proposal that are not related to the required variances: noise, pollution, property maintenance, property values, prosecution for illegal construction, personal comments regarding neighbors, agents, or applicants, additional variances without proper public notice. If there is an identified need for an additional variance or variances, including an increase in the extent of the relief required, a recirculation of the application is required. Part of the statutory public notification requirements, each applicant was required to post a sign on the property and file a statutory declaration confirming the sign posting. The list that I have from staff indicates that I'm going to have to, all applicants or owners are going to have to swear an oath regarding the statutory declaration before we can hear their application. Regarding quorum, if this is lost during the hearing due to technical difficulties, the proceedings will be paused to allow time for the resolution of the issue. Failing the ability to reinstate quorum, hearing of the items remaining will resume at the outset of the next regularly scheduled meeting of the committee. In terms of the hearing process, listed on the agenda and appearing on the screen are the applications we will hear today. For the sake of efficiency, the committee may deal with agenda items in a different order. Note that the committee members have reviewed the application materials prior to this hearing and any written submissions received in support or in opposition. In addition, the committee will hear today oral submissions from any interested parties as part of our proceedings. The committee may ask for a brief presentation by the applicant, followed by questions from the members where clarification may be needed. The public submissions portion of the hearing will then begin, and any interested parties will be invited to make their submissions to the committee. Panel members may then ask follow-up questions where additional clarification may be required. When you are called upon to provide your comments, we will ask you to do the following. Start with stating your name and municipal address for the record. We may ask that you spell your name. Then begin your submission by addressing your comments to the panel members. You may ask questions, but please direct them only to the chair. Please limit your comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Any exceptions will be at the committee's discretion. Once all interested parties have had an opportunity to address the panel, the public submissions portion of the hearing will then be closed. The committee will then make an oral decision to either grant or deny the application. The committee may also choose to reserve its decision. In such case, the panel will deliberate further on the evidence presented immediately following adjournment of the public hearing. In either case, the committee will send within 10 days of its decision, and to all parties and those who have requested it, a written decision that sets out the reasons for the decision. All decisions of the committee are subject to a 20-day appeal period, during which the decision can be appealed to the local planning appeal tribunal for a fee. Now, before we begin the agenda, are there any declarations of interest from any of the members regarding items on this agenda for panel 1 or panel 2 or panel 3? I have to declare on an item this evening's panel 2 agenda. It's an application on Lawn Avenue. This property is in my neighborhood, and in an abundance of caution, I always declare on these applications. So we have no minutes to confirm. We do have, however, a substantial number of adjournment requests on this for this hearing. A total of 12 adjournments out of the 19 applications that we have before us today. So this may take a little time. Anyway, we shall start with the first adjournment request, which is item number 3, 179 Strathcona, and this adjournment has been requested by the planning department. The application is a minor variance is to permit a reduced rear yard and westerly side yard setback for the construction of a new one-story addition and carport on the northwest corner of the existing dwelling. So if the planning department is there and could articulate the reason for their request for an adjournment.
Hello, through you, Mr. Chair. There is an additional minor variance that is required to vary the streetscape character analysis. The dominant character is not to have attached garages or carports, and so to construct an attached garage or carport, the applicant needs to vary the streetscape character analysis to do so.
Has the SCA been done yet?
Yes, the applicant submitted one on Monday, and I confirmed the streetscape character analysis today.
Okay. All right, and the applicant is aware of the department's request for the extra variance.
Mr. Chair, if I could interrupt, I'm not sure if we have the applicant on the line.
I see Mr. Wima in a box at the bottom.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Good.
Your address, please, sir.
It's Gord Wyma.
Okay.
And I'm at 9 Goodwood Drive.
Okay. You're aware of the department's request?
We've already resubmitted for the minor variance with the added streetscape analysis, changing it from a ABA to a BBA, which is a detached carport to an attached carport.
Okay. All right. Well, what we'll do is we're going to adjourn this sine die, and it will be on the agenda at some point, hopefully in the near future.
Thank you very much.
So all in favor of adjourning this application until such time? All right. That's adjourn sine die. Number 3. The next application that is up for adjournment items 4 and 5 on the agenda. 115, 117 Homewood. minor variances for an increased projection into the rear yard and easterly side yards for the construction of a carport addition with an outdoor deck above, and it'd be the westerly side yard for the other property, which is 117 Homewood. Existing second floor deck is to be demolished, and the request for adjournment is from the planning department. There's a planning department there to articulate their request.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. We're requesting an adjournment, not because the department takes issue with the proposal, but just on account of taking a most cautious approach to ensuring that the right variants are sought. In this case, given that there is de facto a carport going to be located under the proposed patio, we realized it would be most appropriate to require variances from the setbacks rather than from the projection provisions.
And you've had discussions with the applicant regarding this?
We have discussed this. Yeah.
All right, and I believe the applicant's agent is online as well, Ms. Steele.
Yes, hi.
Hi there. Your address, please?
It's 115 Homewood Avenue.
Okay. You're aware of the department's position?
I am.
Okay. So there will need to be another variance, which means we will have to. Are you in support of the department's position, requesting the additional variance?
Yes, my
Okay.
understanding is it's wise. So
Okay. So we'll adjourn this sine die. It'll need to be recirculated, and it will be back before us hopefully shortly, at the beginning of construction season. Yeah, thumbs up. Yeah. All right, all in favor of adjourning this application sine die? Okay, it's adjourned until further notice. Thank you very much.
all right. Pardon me, Mr. Chair, is this for both 115 and 117?
Yeah,
So we can
Yeah,
vote?
for both of them. yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Next application that is up for adjournment is item 7 on the agenda, 73 Kilberry Crescent. And it's an application for minor variance for a reduced rear yard setback to permit freestanding garage to be attached to the existing detached dwelling. And again, this request for the adjournment for the additional variance required, and a tree information report has come from the planning department. If they'd like to articulate that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There are additional variances that are required for the building as proposed, a rear yard area, and also revisions or variances from the front facing garage provisions. The applicant and I have been in discussions, and yes, regarding the variances.
Okay. And I believe Mr. Irwin, who is the agent, is online. Are you there, Mr. Irwin?
I am, yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, could you give us your address, please?
3044 Stone Ridge Road, Dunrobin, Ontario.
Okay, so you've been in discussion with the department regarding the additional variance and the TIR?
Yes, and we're looking to get the tree report as well done.
Okay.
So that's going to take a bit of time.
Yeah, so what we'll do is adjourn this application sine die, and hopefully it'll be back before us fairly quickly.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor of adjourning the application sine die on this? All right, item 7 is adjourned sine die. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Next application that is before us for adjournment are items 10 and 11 on the agenda. 51 Garrison Street, 327 Rockhurst Road. And again, this request for adjournment has come from the planning department. So the planning department would like to articulate their request, please?
Yes, I can, Mr. Chair. The department, in reviewing this application, realized that an additional variance is needed due to the streetscape character of the surrounding block. The present proposal includes a front-facing attached garage, which deviates from the character group and would necessitate a variance. We're currently in discussions with the applicant to revise the design accordingly.
Okay. I think Ms. McLean had some questions regarding the eaves. Ms. McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wondered when this application comes back before us, whether we could see an elevation for the detached garage, for the new detached garage that'll be on the lands for the existing dwelling. I just have a concern about whether that eave extends, how far it extends to the new proposed lot line, and whether or not the variance that's being requested relates to the wall of the garage or the eave. It just wasn't clear. So if in the interim we could see that elevation, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. McLean. And is the department satisfied with the condition re the easement for servicing?
With respect, Mr. Chair, we didn't get so far as to review it in much depth. As soon as we saw that an adjournment was required, we changed gears, so to speak, to addressing the other substantive issues with the proposal.
And there will be discussions with infrastructure regarding this, I'm assuming.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I believe the agent for this is, I'm hoping I don't mispronounce your name, Mr. Kai.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair. Yeah, hello. Can you hear me? Sorry.
You were breaking up, sir. You're all right now.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chair. Yeah, I will work on this project to address those issues from Mr. Jeff, and I will revise the design and show some to the elevation of detached garages.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then we'll. Mr. Wilder had a question.
Yes, the question I have, and something about planning and the applicant may want to consider, is in terms of the easement, the proposed new foundation wall will be 0.15 meters distance from the property line. I guess I have a little concern about that, so maybe planning could take that under advisement in terms of. You said you're going to be looking at the whole matter of the easement and the fact that it's so close, so tight to the property line at 0.15 meters. Something which I may raise it the next time this comes forward. So you might as well take it under advisement now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilder. All right, all in favor of adjourning this application, sine die. All right, applications 10 and 11 are adjourned, sine die. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the next applications that are up for adjournment are items 12 and 13. And this is 22 Euclid Avenue, and the application is a minor variances to permit a reduced rear yard setback for the construction of a semi-detached garage at the rear of the property. And this application, or this adjournment, has been requested by the applicant's agent, Ms. McQuigg. Is she there?
Oops. Apologies, I am here. I just there's a bit of a delay.
Could we get your address for the record, please?
My address is 24 Kirkstall Avenue.
Okay, and if you could articulate your request for the adjournment, please.
Our request for adjournment, Mr. Chair, is that Shoppers Drug Mart, which is the commercial tenant to the rear of the property, is one of the only neighboring properties that might incur any sort of impact. And we'd simply like the ability to adjourn the application to the next hearing to provide time for the client to obtain in writing from the owner of Shoppers their position, which was relayed orally previously, that they weren't in opposition and that they do support the application. But this is just to provide further comfort, both for staff and for the committee, that we'd like to obtain their support in writing. And we feel that 2 weeks is sufficient to do this.
Okay, you're aware of the planning department's comments regarding the setback of the proposed garage?
We are, and we have several arguments to address their comments, one of which will be that letter in writing from Shoppers as well.
Okay. All right. Any comments from the members? All right. So what we'll do is we'll can we adjourn this to the next hearing, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there is room on that agenda for this item. These 2 items, actually. Thank you.
That would be 12 and 13 will come back to us on the 17th of March.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
All right, we shall see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. And the next applications that are up for adjournment on the agenda are items 14 and 15, 182 and 184 Claire. And I believe the agent has requested the adjournment. If the agent is there, please.
Sorry, good afternoon, I'm here.
All right, could you identify yourself and give us your address, please?
Yes, my name is Kirsten Itcher, address 396 Cooper Street.
Okay, and could you articulate your request for the adjournment, please?
Yes, upon receipt of the comments and the planning department's letter for this application on Friday of last week, I noted that it seemed that the planning department had received the wrong notification because it had been revised early in February, and it was just the wrong version was circulated. And I do note that the sign posted was correct, as was the French notice for minor variance and permission, but the English was incorrect. So the planner reviewed the wrong variances and permissions that we're seeking.
Yeah, and the cost of the circulation will be borne by the committee.
Yes, thank you.
All right, and this will actually clear things up for the committee because it's a little confusing looking at all the strikeouts and wondering why a number of variances have disappeared.
Well, and I mean, and speaking to that as well, the reason it was resubmitted in December to clarify variances, but after December we were provided some legal direction. That is, the building does have legal non-complying rights to the location on this site, that we should be seeking permission for any expansion related to that building footprint on the lot, and that the only variances will be with regard to the lot area itself.
All right. So this is a sine die request from the applicant's agent. I see Mr. Ketchison is online. He's a neighbor. Mr. Ketchison, to the variance or to the adjournment request only, please.
We're fine with the adjournment request.
Okay. Mr. Wilder?
Ms. Nietzsche, I guess I'm going to leave you with one question. I'm going to ask it next time this comes forward. And that is, in terms of the footprint, has the rebuild been rebuilt to the absolute boundary limits of the former building? Is there any growth, any entrance, any expansion beyond the exact footprint? And that's what we're going to be asking next meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Cutler. Mr. Cutler is the chair of the Hampton Iona Community Group. Please proceed. On the adjournment. Can't hear you, Mr. Cutler.
See, I was on mute. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. A question that we would have with respect to the legal opinion is whether that legal opinion holds when we're going from a single family home to a request for 2 semis.
And I think the applicant can answer that question when we come back.
It would be appreciated if we could see the legal opinion.
Is
That will be shared with the committee.
Yeah, Ms. Nitchie, is legal opinion to be, you can distribute that?
Well, at this time, we will be seeking a legal opinion on the former use. It's been confirmed by the City of Ottawa during the building permit process. So we are seeking variances and permissions related to the former use, which is maintained through the current use.
Yes, but in this case, the building was built before the severance was requested. So the city building department may not have known of the severance. So they were giving their advice based on another single family home.
So as per the zoning bylaw, a semi-detached dwelling may exist on a single lot. It does not have to be severed to exist as a semi-detached.
Planning department rep online for this application?
He is, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Nato, you can see that there's a little discussion between the neighbors and the applicant. But I think between the neighbors, the applicant's agent and the department, you can get this resolved before we meet again on this.
That seems plausible, Mr. Chair.
Yes, I think we'd appreciate it. All right.
Will do.
Thank you, Mr. Nato. So request is for an adjournment sine die until this is recirculated. All in favor of the adjournment? All right. The application was adjourned sine die. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
The next application that is requested for adjournment. It's item number 16 on the agenda, 116 Bayswater. And the summary of the application is permits reduced interior side yard setbacks, lot width, lot area for the construction of an addition to an existing detached dwelling to allow its conversion to a 4-unit apartment building with 2 parking spaces at the rear of the property. And again, the request for the adjournment is from the planning department. Mr. Nato, if you'd like to articulate that, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The department is requesting an adjournment in this case because an additional variance is needed to accommodate the existing parking spaces at the rear of the site. They are recognized as existing, but they are associated currently with the building in its current use. The change to a low-rise apartment use means that relative to new provisions restricting parking on lots of this size for apartment buildings, the parking spaces become non-compliant with respect to the zoning.
So as far as the department's concerned, the zoning of this site is R4UB under the new R4 zoning.
Precisely.
Okay. All right. There's a site plan process underway for this property, is there not?
There is.
How
for the
far
time,
along have we moved on that site plan process?
it has not moved since September, as I understand it. So the application was made initially in 2019. I'm saying this from memory, but something on that order of magnitude. Essentially, the site plan application was advanced to a point where staff was satisfied that it was appropriate to seek variances.
Okay.
At which point the application came to us.
And the staff's position on the site plan right now is that this can proceed as long as the parking has been accommodated?
That's right. The site plan essentially will be taken up again once zoning compliance issues are resolved here at committee.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I believe the agent for this application is Mr. Ireland. Mr. Ireland, you're aware of the department's adjournment request?
Yes, I am.
And are we adjourning this sine die? Or can this be handled, or can these issues be resolved in a shorter amount of time?
Personally, we would like as short as adjournment as possible, but we do accept the need for additional variance.
Yeah. Okay. Madam Secretary Treasurer, can we, should we adjourn this until the 17th of March, or should we adjourn this sine die given the issues for us on this application?
Chair, given the need for the additional variance, a recirculation would be necessary to identify the correct zoning and also what the variance would be and what under what provisions that variance falls.
So we're probably best off to leave this on as a sine die then.
Correct.
That okay with you, Mr. Ireland?
Yes, I'll
So
also
add on the agenda any earlier, any later.
Exactly. I also add that I have, as of yesterday, submitted to the committee the revised application form and planning rationale to support the additional variance.
Okay. All right. Noted. Very much. Okay. So what we'll do therefore is we'll all in favor of adjourning this application sine die. Hopefully we can deal with it relatively expeditiously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the final application, which an adjournment has been requested, is 304 Lanark Avenue. It's a consent to subdivide the property into two separate parcels of land, proposed to demolish existing dwelling and construct two long semi-detached dwellings on the property. And this request for adjournments is again from the planning department. So, Gula, if you'd like to articulate the department's request for the adjournment, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. The applicant requests a severance of the lot proposing long semi-detached development on undersized lots as a result of the severance that the planning staff has no concerns with. However, that lot contains 4 trees, 2 of them are distinctive according to urban tree conservation bylaw that was in effect during the filing of the application. 1 tree is jointly owned and the other owner doesn't agree with the damage or removal of the tree. One of the distinctive trees is proposed for removal, and Forestry Services consider the mitigation measures and setbacks proposed in tree disclosure report addendum not complete, and the site plan is not in compliance with the mitigation measures recommended for one of the distinctive trees and the jointly owned tree. Planning staff requests an adjournment to allow the applicant to provide the revised DDR addendum and site plan reflecting how the recommended mitigation measures will be addressed to allow for adequate protection of the 2 mentioned trees. Thank you.
All right. Did you say that the tree protection bylaw was in force in effect when this application was filed?
No, the urban tree conservation bylaw was still in the effect
previous
for this.
bylaw. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And so the department is seeking an adjournment sine die on this application.
The
Mr.
applicant
Chair, if I may
asked.
speak to that, please.
Well, can I finish with the department, please?
Certainly.
The applicant requests just recently from the Forestry Services and from the planning staff to adjourn till April 7, and the planning staff has no concerns with that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chown, please proceed.
So I just want to confirm what you were just advised by staff, that we're just trying to finalize the negotiations with staff and forestry.
Right.
Ideally, we could do that in 2 weeks, but in the abundance of caution, we're going to we'd ask the committee to adjourn the applications to April the 7th.
April 7th. Madam Secretary Treasurer, do we have space on the agenda? You're muted.
We do have space on that agenda for April 7th hearing.
Okay. All right. So,
Excuse me, this is Karen Genge. Could I speak before we move on?
to the adjournment only, please.
Okay, my name is Karen Genge and I am the a resident of 310 Lanark.
Yep.
And I'm just curious as to why we haven't been advised of the request for adjournment. Being the owner, I am the joint owner of the tree in question.
Well, these adjournments are filed with the committee.
Okay.
And quite frankly, as a property owner in the area, and I'm a property owner as well, was always been my my modus operandi has always been to contact the committee to see if any adjournments have been requested. So
I'm, yes, very surprised.
It's not the responsibility of the committee to tell you that an adjournment has been requested.
Oh,
we don't do that.
No, sorry. I'm not familiar with the process, but I think that April 7th is reasonable but I don't think that the issue will be resolved by then. So thank you.
Well, hopefully it will be on the 7th of April.
No.
So everyone's all right with the 7th of April, ladies and gentlemen on the committee. We'll adjourn till then on this application. All right, we're adjourned until the 7th of April. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right. We'll now move to the other items on the agenda, which we will be dealing with today. And the first item on the agenda is item number 1, 29 Somerset Street West. It's a minor variance application to permit a reduced rear yard setback for an existing porch and to permit an addition to be set back a reduced amount from a rear lot line. The detached dwelling is being renovated and it is proposed to enclose the existing porch at the rear of the dwelling. And Mr. Dat, I believe, is the agent for the applicant. He's online. Hi there.
Hello. Hi. Yeah, my name
is Ganesh. Could you give us your address, please?
Yeah, my name is Ganesh Dat. I live at 29 Somerset Street West.
Okay. And you very briefly explain your request.
Sure.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Sorry, we do need a
I'm
statutory.
sorry. I have to administer the oath. I'm sorry, Mr. Dad. Before we proceed, we have to go through this. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
I do.
Okay. Sorry about that. Please proceed.
No problem. Yeah. So what we're proposing for a minor variance is to enclose an attached porch at the rear of our property. The attached porch is currently 1.03 meters from the rear lot line. The bylaw is approximately 3 meters from the lot line. And in fact, the property is in our original application, we actually had to make a slight update because we back onto a property that's zoned as R5. The actual rear lot setback we only have to be 2.8 meters. So our proposal is to actually get a variance to be 1.05 meters from the lot line and enclose the attached porch.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's your site plan.
Yeah, I can talk through this if you like. Actually, if whoever's controlling slides, if they can kind of go back the previous slide. Yeah, so this is the actual backyard. That's the views of the back porch. So currently attached, that's the actual area that we'd be enclosing. It's approximately adds about 3% square footage to our property.
Okay.
If we go to the next slide, please. There we go. So it's a little difficult to see there, but if you have the printouts that I provided, it's highlighted. There's a 1.03 meter dimension, which is the variance that we'd be looking to get. And if we go to the next slide. So here's where I did have to make an update. This was pointed out to me last week, where the variance we're actually seeking is actually, we only have to be half, seek compliance towards half because of the R5 zoning behind us. And our application is simply to be 1.03 meters. The home is a heritage property. It's a plaqued heritage property. I've spoken to the Heritage Committee. They don't have an issue with what we're doing. Once we go through this process, we'll be able to get our heritage approval. If we go to the next slide, please. So just as an FYI, if we look back, this is a view from 1958. So the property was already where it is right now relative to the rear lot line before the existing bylaws. So what we're asking for is actually something that's already been in place for a while.
Okay.
And if we go to the next slide, please. Yeah, just simple views. So the top is the existing, bottom is what we're proposing. No major changes here. It's basically just enclosing the attached porch to the property. And everything else we'll do to maintain the same look and feel, including the siding and the colors, etc. And the next slide, please. With regards to the floor test, we believe the variance is minor. There is no impact to the neighborhood. There's no additional traffic, no ask for parking, no rezoning of bylaws. We're simply adding 75 square footage of living space to approximately 2,200 square foot home. Okay. And the next slide, please. Yeah, so just in summary, we love this property. It's an interesting thing. When we first moved to Ottawa, we rented this home in 2013. It was a property that has a tremendous amount of history and character, but it was neglected, being a rental property for over 20 years. We wanted to buy it and we couldn't. The owners didn't want to sell. And then in 2017, a neighbor called us, said the home's up for sale. 24 hours later, we were the owners. And we've invested a fair bit of money in updating it. We've replaced all the windows, keeping in line with the heritage character. Had to replace go with wood windows, slate roofing we've replaced, re-insulated, put in heat pumps, updated the wiring and the plumbing and the landscaping to really make it look like the showpiece that it should be as part of Centertown. And this renovation we're doing is simply updating the kitchen and as well to our current area in the back there where the kitchen is. Kind of feels like it's exposed a lot of wind, very cold. Heating costs are high. In fact, our dogs, their water bowl, the water actually ices up sometimes because of the poor heating. So part of this is obviously we're going to be updating it to common standards, including spray foam insulation and so on, which should help reduce our carbon footprint.
All right. Can we go back? Is that the final slide?
Yes, it is.
Can we go back to the first slide, please? That's your house on the left?
Yes, that's our property on the left.
And is that a legal parking space in front of your house on the left?
I don't know. That was there when we bought it.
I'd investigate that if I were you.
Okay.
Anyway, there is if we've noticed that the committee notes that there's a slight discrepancy between the notice that we sent out and the variances as set out in the planning department's report. And if the planner is there.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So the what we have in your report is the actual variances that we should be put into our amended decision.
Let me refer directly to my report so that nothing is left to the imagination here. So I believe the applicant was correct in initially requesting a variance from the 5.6 meter setback requirement. However, we also note that there is a condition that's existing on the site where the structure is built to the lot line. As such, as Mr. Dat identified on one of his slides, Section 3 of the bylaw would require an addition to move towards the full bylaw requirement by half, which is where the 2.8 meter requirement comes from. In terms of the...
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, in terms of the structuring of the variance, I'm not sure which is the more appropriate to note in the phrasing, although I do note that this application has been consistent in the scope of its request, being for a 1.03 meter setback.
All right, so what we'll do then is we'll amend our variances that were in the notice to mirror the department's language.
Excellent.
And everybody's happy and there's no discrepancies, except for the illegal front yard parking. But that's another issue.
Should not have put that picture in there.
Yeah, you're not the first one. All right, all in favor of approving this application as presented. And thank you very much for your presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
With your renovation, the application is approved.
All right, great. Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome. All right. Next application on the agenda is item 215-217 Dover Court. And it's a consent to subdivide the property in two separate parcels of land in order to establish establish separate ownerships for the existing semi-detached dwelling. And I believe item 2, who is Astrid Elu is the agent for the applicant. Are you there?
This is Majid Turk, the owner.
Okay.
My agent is there. Oh, there he is. Okay, he's coming.
Yes, hello, this is Astrid. Can you hear me?
Yeah, first of all, before we begin, we have to administer the oath.
Okay.
Solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time.
I do.
Okay. If you'd like to, well, actually, I think Ms. McLean had some questions that need to be answered first. Ms. McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just noted there was a plan submitted this morning so that the, unlike normal semi-detached where there's a party wall, I understand that in this case, there's two exterior walls that are abutting one another. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
So the proposed severance line would go down between the exterior of the two walls. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
So I'm wondering, because you have a 2-story and you have a 1.5-story, whether there's any overhang. Do you have a photo or an elevation of that?
I believe we can get a photo from the owner, Majid Turk, which is with us right now. Majid, are you able to supply us with a photo of the property? I did take a look at the when I completed the site plan. I did review the property itself, and there was no overhang, but we can happily provide several photos upon condition.
I'm looking.
That be sufficient, Ms. McLean?
I think to demonstrate, what I'm looking to see is as we introduce a division, a property line, that there's the roof of the 2-story is not going to be overhanging that 1.5 story, overhanging the new property line.
Right. So I'm looking at it right now as well, and there is no overhang that I see. And I remember when I did the again, I would have to. I'm not sure how I could possibly submit the pictures right now, or am I able to submit it at a later date, or?
Well, I think maybe to make it simpler, it's probably best to simply adjourn this until we have the information we need to make the decision. Which means coming back in 2 weeks with the additional information Ms. McLean has highlighted as necessary to our decision.
I think the owner has a picture, but I don't know if that's sufficient.
That doesn't really tell me a lot, Ms. McLean. I don't think so.
Okay.
So why don't we just adjourn this until there's room, Madam Secretary Treasurer, on the 17th?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we could put this over to the 17th.
Okay. Mr. Wilder, you had a comment?
Yes, I just wanted to raise with Mr. Turk. I'm not sure if he's aware of a comment raised by the abutting property owner regarding the property line, and it's nothing we're dealing with here, but I mean, you might want to make contact with her. There's obviously a concern with regards to the survey marker and whether it's impacting on her property or not, on the driveway, I should say. So just bringing that to your attention.
Mr. Turk?
I spoke to her this morning and I explained to her, and she was very great. Like, she was happy I approached her about it, and she knows what's going on. There's going to be no changes at all. And she wasn't aware that the land actually comes in an angle. She thought it was straight right through her garage. But
let's maybe get a written letter signed from her, just acknowledging that fact for the committee so that they're more comfortable with that.
Yeah, we can do that.
And perhaps if we could get something from the surveyor just regarding that, how that proposed severance line is going to intersect at the second story, 1.5 story level there, would be helpful.
Yeah. 17th is sufficient time to do that, gentlemen?
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's more than enough time.
All right, so we have a Mr. Romeo who is online. Mr. Romeo?
Sorry.
Yeah, it's me. I'm here with my wife.
Hi,
Yeah.
sorry. Catherine Romeo and Robert Romeo, 1995 Navajo Drive. We're the intended purchasers on the 215 side of the property. And my only question was if there were any other requests from the committee outstanding, if we could address those today before putting it over, because if there is anything else that would preclude a ruling at the next appearance.
No,
It's just
just that we need that clarification that Ms. McLean articulated.
okay. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. All in favor of adjourning this hearing until the 17th of March? All right. We'll see you gentlemen in a couple of weeks. Thanks very much.
Yep. Thank you.
The next application we'll deal with today is item 6 on the agenda, 178 Main Street. Minor variance application for a reduced rear yard setback for the construction of a 1-story addition, which will enclose the area underneath the existing deck. And the agent for the applicant on Main Street is Mr. Hamel. Is Mr. Hamel there?
Yes, good afternoon, committee members and Mr. Chair.
Your address for the record, please, Mr. Hamel.
My address is 170 Main Street in Ottawa.
Yes, and I note that the tree information report condition has been met and that the report has been received by the department.
Thank you. Yes.
Right. So please continue.
Mr. Chair?
Oh, yeah, right. I keep forgetting. I have to go through the oath and solemn declarations. Good thing I have people to remind me. Do you solemnly swear to affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
I do.
Please proceed, Mr. Hamel.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. In our planning rationale letter, the very first image that you'll see is a shot, a photo. Okay, we can start here. That's fine. This is a site plan of the existing property with Main Street to the left, to the right. And the intended proposal here, the proposal is to enclose from the underside of the rear deck to grade the area that's bounded by the deck. We can see that the enclosed area is going to be defined by the deck above it. It won't go any distance beyond it. It will just simply be dropping those edges of the second story deck to the ground. The existing building is a mixed use building. The owners occupy the second and third floor as their residence. They are both consultants and work from home. And the intention of the enclosure would be to provide them with an office space that will include a place for them to work and the paraphernalia that they need to do their consulting work. The owner, Mark, is an engineer and consults, and his wife also does accounting. Part of the requirements for that space will be to, house the computers, the filing, and the various paraphernalia that Mark needs, including infrared equipment and other stuff. The other thing to note, and on the ground floor of this building is Little Italy Fine Foods. So it's a very popular place and certainly animates the TM intention of the zone. The rear of the property, it doesn't seem to appear here, but there is a shed right at the back of the abutting of the lot, and there's an abutting shed on the lot to the left of it, to the west.
Photos, Mr. Hamel?
I beg your pardon?
Do you have any photos you can show us?
Yes, I do. Yes, if we go back to the first page here, well, okay, we can use this site plan. This is the site plan that we prepared. We can see the proposed addition in red. Yeah. The hatched area is the variance that we are requesting. Below that is the existing accessory storage shed. Okay. And if we go to the front page, the first page of the report, we can see a photo of that. Okay, well, we can stop anytime. It's a little bit out of order now, but if you can bear with me, the north elevation, the top left, is the profile of the existing house, including the deck at the rear of it, which is to the right of it on the second floor. The darker gray area where it says new one-story home office addition is underneath the deck and partially underneath an overhang of the existing second floor. The orange dotted line shows the extent of the variance from that point towards the right, and it's also hatched in orange. The other elevation below it shows it from the other side, and the west elevation that occurs twice shows the width of the addition and the height of it from the back of the property. And it's hatched in orange as well because the face of it is closer than what would be permitted by that orange line. The next slide, please. So here we have a drawing that we prepared showing the sheds on the abutting neighbors and the existing shed and the trees canopies that exist along the property line on the rear lot line. In the summertime, these trees are quite full, which affords privacy both to and from the second story deck. And we can see that the main floor will barely be peeking through between the shed towards the back and above that green rectangle, which is a fence that is quite full of ivy during the summer. There are pictures later on that show a shot that we took from the summer, but that's the impact of the addition on the ground floor towards the rear. And on the sides as well, we can see it in the pictures below the on the bottom of the drawing. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
That is the last slide that we have.
Okay, well, I sent you our report as well. Can
we have it on file.
Okay, if you have the report.
There's no objection from neighbors. Everybody's happy, I take it.
There have been no comments from the neighbors. We have support from planning, or rather they have no concerns with the application. We've addressed the Nancy Young's comments with respect to trees, as you pointed out, Mr. Chair. We were able to get Astrid Nielsen from Dendron to provide us with a support with a report that states the same. We did reach out to the community association, Old Ottawa East Community Association. They were also not objecting and actually were encouraged to see this type of mixed use on Main Street. We reached out to the councillor's office, no comment. And yeah, so basically we feel that this is a pretty non-impacting addition. On page 2 of our report, we've identified the 4 tests and how we meet them. And I'll just read through maybe the most important one, which is whether or not the addition is appropriate and desirable, and the impact test. It has, in our opinion, no negative impact on the surrounding neighboring properties because behind us are 2 parking lots for two low-rise apartment building forms. On the south side is another parking lot, and on the north side, which is a property between myself actually and our clients, is a driveway. So we feel that there is no negative impact on the surrounding neighbors' properties with respect to use, since we're extending a single-family home use. And we're creating no overlooking or privacy issues, it being at grade, and it's largely hidden by the existing sheds and vegetation, and is simply enclosing the full underside of a deck that's already there. Okay. So it's also minor, we're extending, you might have noticed that we can already extend to where that orange line was. So we're just extending it a little bit further to the existing back of the deck, and the intent of the zoning bylaw and of the official plan have both been met in that the uses are permitted, and we're extending a mixed-use building in the general urban area.
Right. Any questions from the committee on this application? I know, Mr. Hamel, that standard hydro comments to contact them regarding servicing information and clearances. I don't think you're going to have an issue with that since you're building under an existing deck.
Yes, thank you.
All right, all in favor of approving this application as submitted? Good luck with your project, Mr. Hamel. Your project's approved.
Thank you very much, committee.
Welcome. Next application on the agenda is item number 8, 549, 549A, 549B Hilson Avenue. It's a consent to subdivide a property into 2 separate parcels of land in order to establish separate ownerships for a semi-detached dwelling currently under construction. And we have, I believe, who is the agent on this today?
I am Serene Shahzadeh.
From Novatech. All right. If you'd like to proceed, please, just very briefly.
Mr. Chair, we do need the
Oh,
statutory
yes, that's
declaration.
right. Yeah, I have to remind it again. Geez, I forget my own name one day. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so very briefly.
We did submit a presentation. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so the applications before you today are to sever the property to create 2 lots for a semi-detached dwelling that's currently under construction.
Yep.
So just for some quick context, the property is in Kitchissippi and is zoned R3R. It's located on the west side of Hilson Avenue, and behind the property is Hampton Park. Can we go to the next slide? So the property is currently being developed by a fully conforming semi-detached dwelling, and the proposed lots shown right now on the draft reference plan fully comply with the R3R provisions for lot width and lot area for a semi-detached dwelling. So the 2 lots that are proposed have a frontage of 7.62 meters and an area of 306 meters squared. The proposed severances are consistent with the criteria laid out in section 51, subsection 24 of the Planning Act. And the proposed severances represent good land use planning and is consistent with provincial and municipal policies with regards to infill intensification in the urban area. And that's the application in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions, Ms. McLean?
I just noticed, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just noticed that the side yard's reduced to 1.12 on the plan that you displayed. Does that meet the zoning bylaw, or are they conforming?
Yes, they're conforming. So the interior side yard requirement is 1.2 meters, but that 1.12 you see is to account for a permitted projection, an ornamental brick feature that wraps around the front and the corner of the dwelling.
Thank you.
And you're aware of the conditions that the department has put forward?
Yes.
Existing dwelling removed, services capped, independent services, accessory structure demolished or relocated, joint use and maintenance agreement, and a grading and drainage plan.
Yes, we're aware of them.
Okay. No objections from any of the neighbors. The department is in support. All right. Any other comments from the members of the committee? No. All right. All in favor of this consent? Yes. Consent's granted. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Next application before us today is 519 Windermere Avenue. Minor variance to permit a reduced rear yard setback for the construction of a new 2-story detached dwelling. The existing dwelling and detached garage are to be demolished. And I note that that there's a revised site plan dated February 25th, 2021. That is, and Pete have indicated that during review of the application, planning staff noticed a compliance issue with the initial design of the front yard and the low-rise residential infill development provisions in the mature neighborhoods overlay. The applicant revised their proposal to meet the requirements, and staff comments are based on the latest plans dated February 25th, 2021. So We have on this application, Mr. Beeman again, and I'll have to go through the declaration. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
I do.
All right, if you'd like to give us a brief presentation on the application, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and committee, this is my first time on Zoom. Oh, I didn't know if I had to provide slides. Other people before me provided slides and stuff, and I thought, oh, am I supposed to have done that? I don't know, but anyways, I apologize. This is the existing condition that's there now, which is all going to be demolished, so it doesn't really, if you could go to maybe the site plan of what we're proposing. So there's the site plan that they're proposing. So the front yard setback was determined by the average setback between the houses on either side.
Yeah.
As you can see, 513 is a little bit further setback than 521, which caused us to have a larger front yard setback than we were hoping to have. And ironically, or interestingly enough, we noticed that the larger of the front yard setback you have, you're supposed to have a bigger backyard setback. I would have thought that would have been the opposite way around, but apparently it's not. The bigger front yard means you need a bigger required backyard. So the required setback, because we have the 5.9 meter front yard setback, we're now required to have 28% rear yard setback, where previously we would have had a 25% is what we're asking for. And we wanted to keep the house further back on this site as well to maintain the tree. There's a nice linden tree at the front of the house that the owners want to keep, and we want to stay away from the root ball system from that tree as well. And so for that pushes the house a little bit further into the backyard. So we're looking for a 3% reduction to get the rear yard setback back to the 25% if we had a smaller front yard setback.
Okay. Have any elevations?
They were all submitted with the drawings, with the application there in front of the house.
Okay.
More of a modern farmhouse style look to the house, which is very popular in the Westboro area, as you're probably aware.
Yeah. You said that linden tree in the front yard will be protected during the construction period. And
absolutely, it's key for the clients to maintain that tree.
Yeah. Okay.
We have a tree report. It's a healthy tree.
Yeah. And just out of curiosity, the planning department, you've identified a condition regarding trees. Is that necessary right now?
No, the Forestry Services just provided the comment, but it can be dealt with on the further stages of the project.
Okay, so we can eliminate that as a necessary condition then.
Yes, thank you.
It'll be covered off. Okay. I note that the Building Code Services has indicated that you need a demolition permit prior to demolition and the building permit prior to construction. It's pretty standard stuff. And Hydro needs you to contact them, resurfacing and clearances, which is also a standard requirement from Hydro Ottawa. Any questions or comments from the members of committee? Okay. All in favor of this application as presented with the change in the elimination of the condition? Your application is approved. Good luck with your project.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and committee.
Very much. Okay. And 8, 9. We'll now deal with item 17 on the agenda. 443, 445 Dawson Avenue. And it's application for consents to subdivide the property into 2 separate parcels of land for separate ownerships for the existing semi-detached dwelling. And this is back before us for the second time because there were questions regarding the severance line and the front porch and encroachments and the like. And apparently this has been resolved. The agent for this application is Mr. Warren. Are you there, sir?
Yes, hello.
Hi, Mr. Warren. I'm going to ask the planning department to kindly explain to us why putting a severance line through a front porch can be handled through a joint use and maintenance agreement.
Hello?
I might be able to begin by giving some background information on how we got to this point, if that would help.
Sure, go right ahead.
So there's a 80-year-old silver maple in the front right corner of the property, which we wanted to preserve and protect. And so in order to accommodate that tree, we moved the driveway and garage to the left side of the right unit. And so the units are not mirror images of each other. They are copies. So the first and second unit are both copies of each other. So we had an exterior protruding wall to divide the 2 properties. And that left a tiny little piece on the right unit in terms of the porch that's supporting that column. So although it was designed properly and built properly with all the permits, it might look a little bit different because they're not symmetrical.
All right, Mr. Nato, your comments regarding this consent and the applicability of JUMA?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Subsequent to the last hearing at which this proposal, pardon?
No.
Oh, I'm hearing things. Yeah, subsequent to the last hearing, I discussed this case with our legal team here at a development review, and with regard to the projecting party wall between these units, it seemed very, I should say, uncontroversial to our advisor that a JUMA would be the appropriate means of dealing with this. As noted in my report, as far as the step is concerned, it can be understood to be on the property on which it's located. This may be a curiosity, but as far as the planning department is concerned, there are really no consequences to it being there.
All right, Mr. Nato, Ms. McLean.
Just wondered if we have a photo or an elevation of that front, just to give us a better picture of what we're talking about.
Do we have one, Mr. Warren, on file?
Mr. Nadeau, were those attached with the application? They were forwarded earlier.
I don't have any in the application. I may be able to.
I've got a copy here, a hard copy I can hold up if that helps. I don't know if you can see this version.
So my understanding is that the step belonging to 445, the interior half, encroaches onto 443. And maybe some of the wall and that planning are saying through legal that the joint use and maintenance agreement can address that. I'm just a bit uncomfortable. I've seen it dealt with by way of an easement or a right of way on the corner property, which would grant an easement, the right for the structure to exist, and a right of way to pass on to it. So if I understand planning, legal are saying that can be addressed in the joint use and maintenance agreement. If that's the case, I guess we just maybe modify the condition to make sure that that's addressed and that some kind of rights or easements are in there to protect one owner from saying, you know, don't come onto my property if that could occur, sort of thing. So I'm just to have a little bit better comfort level on how that's being addressed. Perhaps we could modify the agreement. I guess my preferred method would have maybe been to add an easement right away onto the lands and have it dealt with that way. But given the opinion from legal, I think just modifying the joint use maintenance agreement may be a solution.
So I'm going to try to clarify here. There's two issues. I think that's where we got snagged last time. The wall, the exterior wall that protrudes from the front of the house to divide the two properties is on a concrete porch, which is on a foundation attached to both houses. So that was by design. That's the way it is. In front of that concrete porch is a separate interlocking patio step. And I built the two houses for my two daughters who are living in them now. And that was so that the two girls could go back and forth easily between each other's houses. So I think we're getting, I was initially confused with the two items, but the step out front is just an interlock patio, and it's not part of either house. It's just to allow the girls to walk back and forth. I think the issue is the partition wall that sticks out front, and that is on the concrete porch, and that is straddling the property line. And so that when I consulted with my lawyer and the architect and the surveyor, they said that this was a normal feature, that because the two units were not mirror images, it looked a little bit different, but it was perfectly acceptable and would be covered under the joint use and maintenance agreement.
Mr. Nadeau, when you consulted with legal, did they give you a written opinion on this? Or is this verbal?
I may have a brief written opinion via email.
I think that would be useful to have.
So if I could just clarify, the proposed severance line is dividing or intersecting with the porch. And a portion of the porch, am I right there, is going to be on the other unit's land?
No. The porch
Can we pull up
straddles.
the draft reference plan?
Yeah, so on the draft reference plan, like if I go back to that, the tree issue, so this is the draft reference plan. We have it there. Right, so that porch is actually part of both properties. It's supporting that partition wall that doesn't show on the draft reference plan. So the wall stands on top of that. It straddles the property line about 11 and a half inches, 11 and a quarter inches on either side of that property line.
So 11 inches is going to be belonging to part 2 of that porch.
Correct.
Does that make sense? That you own a portion of somebody else's porch? I guess that's where I'm so if I was sitting out on the porch and I could be sitting on somebody else's property, or if I was standing on the porch, I could be sitting on part 2 or standing on part 2's property.
Right, I understand that. So take a look at this picture that's up on us on the screen in front of us, and imagine they were mirror images. So the porch on part 2 was now part of the porch of part 1. So they're equal on either side.
Not according to this, they are.
I know, but I'm just saying, if they were mirror images, they would be equal on both sides of that property line. But it would not affect that wall. That partition wall would still be there because it's still dividing the two properties. The only reason it looks a little funny is because they're not exact mirror images. And but that partition wall does straddle the property line. It does divide the house. It's an extension of the interior wall. And the porch that you see on part 1, that little tiny piece, is holding a wall. There's no place to sit on it. It's just the wall that sits there. And that wall divides the two properties.
So I think that's where a photo might have been helped to clarify it. So part 2 is going to maintain that portion of the wall of that porch?
Correct. It'll be part of the joint use and maintenance agreement, same as the inside wall, same as the roof.
So given legal's opinion to planning, I guess if we just modify the JUMA, the joint use and maintenance agreement to include that particular area.
Yes, that's what I was advised to do. And I do have a photo here of the house. I'm actually in the house. I could run outside and show you if you wish, or I could hold up a picture. Oh, sorry, where am I here? Oh, sorry. Give me 1 sec.
All right, so the planning department is happy with this. We've heard Mr. Warren's explanation. I'm not. And I'd like to reserve on this, okay. I'd like to reserve on this application so that we can discuss this further. So on that note, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your input. The committee will reserve on this application, and the decision will be in your hands within 10 days of our decision. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I believe that is the final item on the agenda. And that being so, this committee is adjourned. See you all in 2 weeks.